So everybody knows the faster you learn, the faster you earn, and the more you learn, the more you earn. This is how I built a multi-million-dollar company from reading books, especially after being the kid who was put into special classes and told that I'd get nowhere in life. In this video, I'm going to go through step by step how I read 50 to 100 books every year, and also how I retain that information. Pick up a book and just start reading. When you do that, you're going to notice a whole bunch of beliefs that may be blocking you. So the first thing that I would say to anybody who is trying to learn more, number one, change your beliefs around learning and around reading. I was a kid who was put into special classes at school. In grade 7, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm in a special class, and I thought I was special. But I was special in a different way, if you know what I mean. Over time, I realized that I was dumb, I wasn't that intelligent, and that I was bad at school. So when I would sit in class and the teacher would say, Michael, can you read this chapter or can you read this verse? I would distract myself. I would say, oh no, I can't. And when I would do that, other kids would then tease me, which then reinforced this pattern that I was a dumb kid in school. So I had this really bad negative connotation to reading. And so as an adult, I went back to night school in order to study to be a personal trainer. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever done, because going back to school as an adult to learn after you've been put into special classes, you got kicked out of school at 15, school and learning were not my friends. But what I realized that when I started learning and I enjoyed the things that I learned, that I wanted to learn more. But once I picked up a book, I just noticed my brain saying, I always forget things. Naturally, that's what would happen. So I would start reading, and I'm going to show you what I would do is I would pick up a book, and as I would get down the page, I would then go, oh shit, I can't remember what I learned. And I would go back and I'd read that section. That was just because of my beliefs around, I forget everything, I can't remember stuff. And now at my events, I read in public. And I remember when I first started doing it, I would stutter, I would get stuck on words because all these beliefs would pop up in my head saying, you're the dumb kid, you always forget. So I had to work through those beliefs and change them. I had to reframe them. So now I believe that I remember everything, and I remember everything that's important to me. So if it's important to me, I know I'm going to remember it. So I remind myself of that when those beliefs come up. So you need to, number one, reframe those beliefs and create a different story about your life. Number two, you want to find the best ways that you learn. So personally, I'm a very good visual learner. So I love learning stuff off of YouTube. I love watching documentaries. That's how I learn best. The second best way that I love learning is normally through audiobooks. On my phone, I use Audible. So I go in there, I look for books that I believe are going to help me solve problems within the business or within my life. Because of that, my brain picks up the knowledge a lot faster, because I know that this is important to me. This is an area of my life that I want to grow, and I'm trying to solve a legitimate problem. So then I go and find a book. Let's just say I'm listening to it on Audible. So what I do is I go as fast as I can understand the words, and I just sit there and I listen to it for 1 to 3 minutes. Then my brain locks in on the book. Then what I do is I go back and I start the chapter again, and I start it at a speed that I can comprehend. So what you've actually done is you've sped up your brain to try to comprehend what the book was saying at the fast speed. So when you slow it back down to 2 or 2.5 speed, it seems slow, so your brain's comprehension goes up a lot more. What most people do is they make a common mistake, and that is that if you don't understand something, you go back and read it. What you'll find though is that most people that I come across, their brains actually work way faster than what I thought. What I realized is my brain has a challenge focusing, but it can focus, especially when it's really fast. So when I listen to an audiobook super fast, my brain has to focus and I have to really hone in on the attention. When I listen to it at normal speed, I get distracted because it's too slow, and it allows my brain time to focus on other things. So it might be counterintuitive, but when you can't focus, you don't want to go slower, you want to go faster. That's the quick tip if you want to listen to books faster on Audible. And over time, you can train your brain to go faster and faster. Most books I listen to on 3 or 3.5 times the speed. So if it's going to take 10 hours to listen to a book, now it's going to take you 3, maybe 3.5 hours to listen to that same book. Another way, if you're reading hard copy books. Once again, if you get distracted a lot when you're reading a book, my recommendation is to speed read, not slow read. I personally find it easy to speed read, but I find it hard to slow read, which is why sometimes in my events, I get a bit distracted or lost or stutter, because my brain is already halfway down the page. My eyes are already down here when I'm only reading the second and third line, because my brain's flying through the words, because I've trained myself to speed read because it keeps me focused and less distracted. Let's go through how to speed read so that you can comprehend more and you can get through more books. The first thing you want to do is when you grab a book, you want to break the spine of the book. Now, the reason why we do that is it opens up and it sits open more so that you're not always fighting the pages. Turn them open like that, and then I break the seal probably about 10 times in the book. Okay, so I just open it, fold the pages backwards, break the seal. Now, some people I know are cringing right now and going, how can you do that to a book? But I'm more worried about reading the book and using the book than I am making it look pretty. So after you've broken a whole bunch of spots in the spine, the book should sit open flat. Okay, so you can see there it sits flat. Then what I do is I grab a music stand or something where my eyes are forward. Sometimes if I'm reading at my desk, you can go to Amazon, you can buy little book stands. You just want something that you can look directly at the book. Now, if you need to wear glasses or anything like that, then do that. You also want to make sure you create an environment for reading. I don't recommend reading in bed at nighttime. When I read knowledge books at nighttime, I just get too stimulated and my brain goes crazy and I'm trying to think of things and figure everything out. And so I get too stimulated by it. Things like poetry I'm cool with, autobiographies, I might read some books every now and again. Pick your spots where you read. This here is my personal reading chair. It's in my office. So normally I like to read first thing in the morning when my brain's sort of fairly neutral. I get up, I go to the bathroom, I grab a big glass of water, I put it on my bookshelf here. I like nice fresh air in the room. I would rather be a little bit cold than a little bit too warm because I start to get a bit groggy and a bit unfocused. I rather not read with a full stomach because I start getting tired. Make sure you've got good lighting as well because you don't want to strain your eyes. Once I'm set up, you then need to use either your finger or a pacer. You want something that your eyes can track and follow. If you look at little kids, when you teach little kids to read, they use their finger to trace across the page where the words are. The reason why this is important is your eyes can track the top of the pencil or the top of your finger, and it trains your eyes to move where the words are. This is important because when you're starting to speed read, if you don't do that, you can just start to blur everything out, or you go back and you read the same words over and over and over again. You want to train yourself not to go back and read the words over and over again so you focus more. Then what you're going to do is, now that the book is cracked, you're going to train your mind to go fast. So as I mentioned, when you're listening to Audible, you want to listen to it as fast as you can so you become hyper-focused. We want to do the same with a book. So what I do is I grab my phone and I set a 1-minute timer. I put the phone down, I hit start, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the book as fast as I can comprehend. So I'm going to use my pacer to go across the page, and I'm going to read for a minute straight. Flip the page, okay, and then I keep going. The phone goes off after a minute. I grab my pencil and I put a little mark where I got up to. I go back, I reset the timer, and then I start again. Now I need to go faster. Okay, 1 minute, I'm going through a little bit faster. Okay, still trying to comprehend it, but I've got to beat my time. Flip the page. Okay, we keep going, we keep going, we keep going. Now the timer goes off again. I mark that line. I should be further along in the book, probably a couple of lines forward. I'm gonna do that anywhere between 4 to 6 times minimum. Sometimes it's 8 if I've got a bit of a groggy brain in the morning. So I spend 8 minutes warming up my brain. When I've trained people to do this before, sometimes people go, oh, I don't really do that. If you can't spend 6 to 8 minutes warming up your mind, how do you expect to get it working and functioning effectively? Imagine going for a 10K run and not warming up your ankles or your calves or doing a little bit of stretching before you go for that run. You're probably gonna end up with injuries, or you're probably not gonna run effectively. Anyone who exercises knows you need to go through a warm-up routine. The same thing happens when you read, just most people are never taught how to do this. Once I've warmed up my brain, I keep going. And then the last 2 times I do this, I want to go as fast as I can. So I am just going to hit the 1 minute timer, and I'm going to use my eyes to follow the top of this, and I'm not even going to comprehend words. I'm just going to move the pen along the page, and I'm literally going to go about that speed. I'm just going to make sure my eyes follow the top of that pacer as fast as I can. The more you do this, the more you train your eyes to move across the page as fast as you can. Okay, we're going to keep going, keep going, keep going. Now you might get through 4 or 5 pages in that 1 minute. Once you've done that enough and you're ready to roll, then you go back to the first page that you started on and you read. What you'll find is that your reading pace probably picks up 2 to 3 times faster than your normal reading speed, at least, and your comprehension will still be there. So then what I do is I normally set a timer for, let's say, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes, however long I want to read for. I put it to the side. I make sure my phone's on silent, there's no distractions, and then I just start. So I use my pacer, I just come back to the original spot where I started, and then I just start reading it. And I just cruise through, and that's how I get through the books. If I'm reading a book where I need to get knowledge out of it for business for whatever reason, what I will do is anything that's important, I will underline. So I will stop, I will underline what I need to underline, and then I normally have little cues that I use to then transfer the knowledge onto other areas. So if you're a coach or you're someone who likes to teach other people stuff and you need a reference work, I have little labels that I use. So for example, if it's a quote and I want to quote someone, I underline it and on the side I write Q, U. That means it's a quote. After I've read the whole book, I can go back and I can look and I can take out all the quotes and I can put them into content that I'm creating. I can put them into workbooks. I can use them where I want to use those quotes. Let's say it's for business. If it's wealth creation, I put WC. That reminds me that that section there that I've underlined is for wealth creation. And I can go and put that into maybe a course that I'm creating for business owners on wealth creation. But I just use those little labels so that it documents where I want to put that information. Some other quick things that will help with your retention of information is your nutrition. If you're eating shitty food, you're probably going to have a foggy mindset as well. If you've got dietary issues, like let's say you've got a lot of inflammation in your body, you're probably going to have inflammation in your mind. If you're someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, that's going to be harder to be able to retain information and be able to focus. So just be aware of those things. If I'm doing a really big study day where I want to learn a lot, I definitely don't have sugar. I try not to consume too much caffeine because it winds my brain up. I definitely don't want alcohol, and I try not to do it when I'm too stressed out because it's hard to focus, and I really don't get too stressed out too often, but these are some of the things that might affect your ability to retain information. So before you start any type of knowledge learning, is that you want to make sure you're warming up your mind and warming up your eyes, especially if you're reading first. Now, if you're listening to it, listen to it fast. Then after you do it for a couple of minutes, go back, rewind it, and then start it at the pace you want to listen to it at. It'll probably be 3 to 4 times faster than what you normally listen to it. If you're doing it in a book, make sure you warm up your eyes by using your finger or a pacer and follow your finger with your eyes because it's warming you up, it's getting your brain ready, and then start reading. The more you learn and the more you study, the faster, more effective, and the better retention of information that you have. But you've also got to remember that your beliefs and your mindset around studying, learning, and memory retention are super important. If you're one of those people who walk around and say, I always forget people's names. No wonder you forget people's names because you keep telling yourself that you forget people's names. You don't always forget people's names. There are times that you remember people's names and there's times that you forget. You need to train yourself to get better at remembering people's names. But the more you keep reminding yourself that you're shit with your memory, the worse your memory gets over time. The same thing happens with books. If you say, I forget everything or I can't remember what I read, you're reframing your brain and wiring it to not remember information and to not remember stuff. So make sure you stop yourself and say, the more that I learn, the better I get. The more that I learn, the better I get. And keep just saying it to yourself until one day you go, you know what? I remember everything that's important. There you go. You remember everything that's important. If the book's important to you, you'll remember most of it. So if you are one of those people who are starting from fresh, you're someone like I was that didn't really like learning, that it wasn't my thing. I think I read like one book in about 8 years. But I just remember that practice makes permanent. It doesn't make perfect because there's no such thing as perfect, but practice makes permanent. If you want to get good at something, you just need to keep practicing, and the better you get. I don't try to be great at it. What I try to do is I just remind myself that the more that I do it, the better I get. And if I just want to be better at something, I just keep putting in the time. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've got something from it down below in the comment section. Would love to hear from you. What are some of the things that have worked for you with your study, with your learning? I would love to hear from you. And also, what do you want to practice? Let me know down below in the comment section. Would love to hear from you. Hope you got some value from this video. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.